Before we get into today's session, I wanted to go over just a quick update on registration and what things are looking like for the challenge to give you all just a snapshot. So my name is Kelly Scott, Director of the Farm Robotics Challenge. Really pleased to share these results with you. So let me get that up. And so here is what we're looking at so far. So this year we have three different divisions for the challenge. Division one is our typical four-year universities and colleges that are participating. And at the moment, we have 46 teams that have signed up from all of these institutions. So I am going to place this slide deck in the chat afterwards. And if you're on the call and I just want to double check that if you're registered, that you're on this list. And if you're not, we just need you to go into our website and click that registration button so that you can get kind of set in our communication schedule. So again, I don't expect you to read it here right now because I'm going to move to the next one, but it'll be in the chat in just a second. So that's Division one. Division two is our two-year community college division on trade and technical schools. And right now we are at 5 institutions, and they are all from California here. And I expect by the end of the week, this list will probably double, and really hoping that we get some folks outside of California as well to jump in. But that's looking strong too. And then lastly, our academy, which is our middle and high school division, grades 7 through 12, schools across the United States, 25 teams so far. And here are the different schools and youth groups that are signed up. We see FFA on there. So really happy to report these numbers at this stage in the game. We are pushing hard for registration this month in October. So the totals there are 76 teams across the 3 divisions. And here's what I think is really cool too. We have 10 countries represented, which is fantastic. Last year we had 2 that came through at the end of the competition. So obviously the reach is growing and there's their international interest in the competition. So if you're listening to this, your name's not on the list, you want to sign up, here's what you got to do. Hop on our website. There's a participation tab, and we would love for you to click the registration form button as you scroll down on that tab by October 30th, and get in our system. And again, this is to get you in the queue, to get you direct invites to webinars like this and our weekly communication that we're sending out only to our registered teams. So that's my little announcement for the morning. And again, I'll share this in just one moment once Brendan gets going here. But it's my pleasure to kind of hand over the microphone to Brendan Dowdle from Bonsai Robotics. He is going to be leading the session today, telling you a little bit more about Bonsai, and then also moderating a panel discussion. We have some really great guests. It's going to be an engaging conversation. So without further ado, I am going to hand things over to Brendan to take things away.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Super excited to see the traction of this year's challenge. As many here may already know, so Bonsai is now the parent company, or the go forward company of a company called FarmNG, which has been a sponsor and a participant in the challenge for many years. And so, just seeing all of the traction, from year to year, and just the innovation that comes out of the challenge is very exciting, and it certainly motivates us here at Bonsai to continue to invest and support all of the wonderful things that happen as a result of the Farm Robotics Challenge. So I'm going to maybe just introduce the agenda here a little bit. Let me pull up my slide here. And then let's get into slideshow mode. Can everyone see this?
Yes,
So,
looks good.
So I'm going to share just a little overview of Bonsai. I'll try and keep it to less than 10 minutes. And then we have a fantastic panel here. Luan Oliveira from University of Georgia, Jonathan Moon, CEO of Budbreak Innovations, Guy from Bonsai, and Larry from Jacobs Del Cabo. Each individual here has had kind of been, I guess, has been touched by the challenge and has engaged with the Bonsai Amiga product and will kind of highlight their experiences, and the opportunities that have come up as a result of their participation in the Farm Robotics Challenge in connection with Bonsai. We'll go into a panel discussion and we'll leave some time for some questions here at the end. So, if you do have questions, feel free to put that into the chat. We won't have time to get to all of them, but we will select the top ones, for the panelists to answer here. So with that, just a little bit about Bonsai. What we are building here at Bonsai is essentially an autonomy platform for outdoor work and outdoor use cases. So Bonsai has kind of two components to its business overall. The unmanned ground vehicle, which people here are familiar with. It's the Amiga line of products. So this is a very flexible, configurable product that can adapt to different environments. And then we have a second component of our business, which is our software, which is the autonomy capabilities. So with the combination of Bonsai, now we have both a Bonsai pilot, which allows users to program missions, manage fleets, manage kind of the activity that robots are performing on the farm, in addition to the on-the-robot software, which navigates through those environments in a seamless and kind of an integrated way. And so Bonsai is continuing to expand, and we're continuing to invest in these two areas, that mobility platform and that autonomy platform, and really make it easy to use and out of the box for participants like yourselves in the Farm Robotics Challenge, growers, corporates, other startups, so that they can solve those acute problems that are facing our growers today. So we're really excited to continue to participate in the challenge, as we see this as a great way to kind of build the next generation of applications that are AI, autonomy, and robotics first. You can see here a little bit of overview of what I've just talked about. We have the Bonsai Intelligence, which is that autonomy platform. That's that Bonsai Pilot and Bonsai Autonomy. So the way you can engage with robots, in addition to how those robots navigate through an environment. And then those are deployed on what we call mixed fleet. So our own purpose-built UGVs, the Amiga line of products. We also have partners that deploy this software on existing machines. So whether those machines are coming off a production line, with an autonomy native solution, or via kind of a tractor retro kit solution, where we can enable existing fleets in the field to be autonomous. This is done through our Bonsai software stack, that Bonsai Pilot, which I mentioned earlier, that Bonsai Autonomy. We have a hardware kit that gets installed on each of our equipment, that then helps our robots navigate and essentially sense and understand the environment in which it is operating within. And then that's deployed on kind of three sets of hardware, our own hardware, kind of the OEM partners that integrate that autonomy in their equipment, and then we support growers making existing equipment autonomous. And so I'm sharing all of this because the work that everyone here does is part of a bigger ecosystem. As you build and develop solutions on top of the Bonsai Amiga product, and leverage, the Bonsai Autonomy and the Bonsai Intelligence, you're contributing to a well-established ecosystem, and have a greater potential to have those products be deployed in commercial environments. Bonsai's Amigas are used widely throughout the world, with existing commercial growers from Australia to the US. We have Bonsai Amigas supporting small growers and researchers, plant phenotypers all around the world. And we have a number of education research partners like UCANR in which we support to help drive the next the kind of next generation of applications that really are going to help us feed the planet in more sustainable ways. So, what is the specific product that our education customers use? So we have what we call the kind of the Amiga for education, which is our base Amiga solution, which you can see here on the top left. This is a kind of a configurable robot. Fundamentally, we call this a Lego kit. It's 4 forks that are identical with 250-watt hub motors. It has a 5-mile-an-hour top speed, and has a lot of capability for a kind of a micro robot. About 1,000-pound haul capacity, 2,000-pound tow capacity, 800-pound lift capacity. So this becomes a great kind of foundation to build kind of innovative solutions on top of. In addition to the hardware, we have our intelligence kit. So you can think of this as a brain and its sensors, or its eyes, and in this case, GPS. So we have 2 Luxonics OAK-D cameras. We have a dual band GPS antenna that is connected to a Jetson Xavier NX compute platform that is field hardened, and can withstand kind of the weather dynamics of the tough agricultural environments in which we operate within. And in addition, we have lots of resources. So as I mentioned, FarmNG has been part of the challenge for a number of years. And as a result, we've built out resources to make it easy to integrate solutions into the Amiga platform. So we have our own kind of API SDK website that really provides the deep documentation. So a lot of the ways that you can engage in the robot are very self-serve and can be the documentation makes it very easy to access the different layers of the technology stack that we've developed. In addition, there's a community that exists that is continuing to develop on the Amiga, and that can be found at Discourse and on GitHub. And so we can provide those links, as a follow-up, to this presentation. But there is a well-established ecosystem that you're plugging into that can support on your projects when you leverage an Amiga for your project. So as it relates to this year's challenge, we're really excited to kind of offer a kind of a unique prize. This is kind of the biggest prize that Bonsai has offered to the Farm Robotics Challenge. So there are kind of two sets of prizes, if you will. So we have the Amiga Innovation Awards. So these are student teams that are pursuing a project on the Amiga, leveraging the Amiga as a base platform, will be eligible for a cash prize. So the Division 1 teams are eligible for a $10,000 cash prize, Division 2 for $5,000 cash prize, and the Academy teams are eligible for a $1,000 cash prize. In addition to those prizes, we are also offering the winning team of the Division 1 Amiga Innovation Track a $25,000 value of FarmNG/Bonsai products. So if you choose to commercialize the project that you participate in with the challenge, Bonsai will support your team in commercializing that solution by providing an R&D unit worth up to $25,000. So we really want to support, the entrepreneurial path of challenge participants here and make it easy to kind of get started and to really prove your prototypes with customers in the field. And I'm sure, Jonathan, that would be something that you would have valued to have, having started a company coming out of the challenge here. So, if one thing to note here, if you do choose to pursue a project that's based on the Amiga, make sure that you work with your faculty sponsor to get access to an Amiga. Many universities already have an Amiga today, but if your university does not have an Amiga, feel free to reach out to Bonsai, specifically to Arav Gupta, who runs kind of our education, sales efforts, and he will be able to help you and your university navigate the way to procure an Amiga to participate in the challenge. So, with that introduction, I'd like to kind of now introduce the panel. And so, really excited to invite, Luan, Jonathan, Guy, and Larry to this panel discussion here. Each of the individuals here have been involved in the Farm Robotics Challenge and have leveraged the Amiga robot to much success. And we'll be able to talk through those experiences. But before we kind of get into the panel questions, I'd love to give time for everyone here to just give a bit of an overview of themselves. So, Luan, maybe I'll start with you. I will say I still don't have your slides, so if you could maybe we'll start with Jonathan and see if we can just pull that in here quickly. So,
awesome. Brendan, I'm guessing, are you going to transition to the slide right now, or do you want to do the intros right off the bat?
Yeah, but let's just do intros. And did you have a slide, Jonathan? I didn't see a slide come from you.
Oh, no worries then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Jonathan Moon. I'm co-founder and CEO of Budbreak Innovations. We build AI-powered robots that help vineyards detect diseases early and understand crop health at vine level. And we actually started out as a student project during the Farm Robotics Challenge, where we use the Amiga platform as our base robot. And that kind of experience became the foundation for the company that we're running today. So yeah, nice to meet you.
Great. Then why don't we go to Guy?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Guy. Former student at UC Davis. I'm the OG here, participated in the very first season of the Farm Robotics Challenge. Luckily, we did an interesting project that caught Ethan Rubley's attention at the time. Ethan and I started talking. He extended me an offer to join FarmNG back then. I have been with the company for almost 2.5 years now. I work in a software engineer capacity. I do a lot of the Amiga ADK examples that you guys have used. If you guys enjoy them, that's my hard work. If you guys don't enjoy them, I'm going to blame Marcelo, who's our support engineer. But yeah, other than that, have been working to improve the autonomy capabilities of the Amiga platform. Nice meeting you all.
Great. And then Larry, why don't we go to you?
Thank you, Brendan. Pleased to meet everybody virtually. My name's Larry Jacobs. My wife and I started a small farm on the central coast of California, Jacobs Farm, in a little town called Pescadero, which is north of Santa Cruz, south of San Francisco. It grew over the last 1,000 years to encompass community-owned farms from the tip of the Baja California, almost to the U.S. border near San Diego, and we farm roughly 400 acres in 3 counties in California, San Mateo, Santa Clara, and Santa Cruz County. Our main crops are fresh culinary herbs, cherry tomatoes, basil, and a sundry other crops. We got very much involved with the robotics and what's now Bonsai when they first started because of the pressing need to leverage automation to improve efficiencies of farm workers due to limited number of amount of staffing and the difficulties of bringing on new team members to help work in the fields in a difficult immigration environment.
Mhm. So, and I'm Larry, I'm very excited to have you here on the panel here, as you know, you really represent the kind of the user of these solutions, and can share what it really means for growers in the current macroeconomic, environment in which we are operating with. So, excited to kind of hear your perspectives here.
Sure. So I'll just add, we've got, I think, 8 of the Amigas operating on different farms at this time, doing different things.
Cool. And then I'm just going to refresh the slide here. And so then, Luan, I'll kind of hand it to you.
Thank you, Brendan. And I'm sorry, technology happens, right? We're having
Yeah.
this issue on my
We figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. Yes. Hi, all. My name is Luan Oliveira. I'm an assistant professor here at the University of Georgia, working on precision ag for specialty crops only. And we were the Innovation Award winners this year at the Farm Robotics Challenge. And the slide you see there is my team, the guys that worked hard for making this thing happen. So we've been using the Amiga for about year, 7, 8 months now, and it like as soon as we finished the project, the Farm Robotics Challenge project, we transformed it in something else. So and right now it came back to the original, I would say, structure that you see there in the picture. So that's it. So I've been here for about 2 years, and we're doing a lot of robotics work, testing different types of robots in the fields, and we have all things to say about commercial machines for specialty crops right now.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Luan. Well, I'm excited to have all of you here, and excited to have each of your perspectives on both how the Farm Robotics Challenge, really helped support kind of your careers, your education, kind of your focus areas, and then specifically too how Bonsai and the Amiga robot, really allowed you to really deploy kind of innovative solutions in this space. And so, one of the things that I see about the Farm Robotics Challenge overall is that it's really a great opportunity to learn by doing. Experience trumps everything. And so, maybe I'll just start with a kind of a first line of questions here. And Luan, I'll start with you. Your team took the grand prize last year. What would you say has been the biggest learnings, that your teams have, received or generated from the challenge itself? And perhaps also how has the Amiga helped your team get from, concept to working prototypes in the field that ultimately allowed you to win?
Okay, that's a really good question. Thank you, Brendan. I'm going to start with the problem.
Yeah.
So besides robotics here, we do, again, all kinds of stuff like spray drones or just surveillance, like scouting drones for scouting problems within the fields. And one day, one of my students, actually my team, was carrying, because like every day we had to grab this spray drone, which is a pretty heavy piece of equipment, put on the truck, and then while in the field, take it back, put water in the tank, and then fly it around spraying the trees. So one of them said, "Hey, we have this robot now. Why don't we put this drone on the top of that robot so we don't need to take it from the truck to back to the field and then back and forth?" So I said, "Hey, that's actually a good idea. Let's see how the growers are gonna feel about it. Like if some growers are using spray drones already." And then it became a whole thing, like say, "Hey, we need this, we need that," and then like industry collaborators as well. They said, "Hey, it would be a really nice to also not only have the landing pad, but also a system that calculates and doses the chemicals for the grower, so that eliminates the exposure of chemicals by the growers." And then we saw the challenge and started thinking, brainstorming. Again, you saw my students in the picture. They worked really hard during like 5 months till we get a working prototype. And your question was like, what helped us, right, Brendan?
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
helped us was actually the modularity, the modular architecture of the Amiga that helped us, because everything started small. So we said, "Hey, this size will not work. So let's increase a little bit." And that's it. Like the modularity, like the easy of use as well. It was pretty easy to implement pretty much anything we wanted on the machine to make it work our way. So I would say like the adaptability as well for like field conditions. Like we have different tool types that we might drive
Mhm.
the robot in the field. So those were the main, I would say, characteristics that helped us on being successful on the challenge. I'm pretty sure.
Luan, what I like about your comment there is that you really, through this challenge and with the Amiga, you really were able to be on the field and then respond to farmer conditions. And we always say, the best products, the best solutions exist when you get your boots dirty. And so being able to respond to those conditions is something that then puts you in a position to build something that actually is useful and can create ROI for growers. And so maybe with that, I'll segue to Jonathan, your experience. You're another example of really hands-on learning that ultimately started as a challenge and turned into starting a company. Why don't you share a little bit more of your journey through the challenge with the Amiga and then ultimately in founding Budbreak?
Yeah, sure, Brendan. So when we first started this challenge, we had this really big vision. So we wanted to build these robots that can be like disease doctors for vineyards and detect vineyard diseases early, help growers make better decisions. But like most teams, student teams, we didn't have like months to design hardware from scratch. We kind of needed something that just works so we could focus on the core and the hard part for us, which was on the perception, the AI autonomy, and the data side. And that's kind of where like the Amiga for us, it kind of changed everything. I still kind of remember that first day we rolled it out into the vineyard. It was dusty, it was really uneven, and like the rows stretch over onto the hills. And we powered it on and it just works. And so we weren't just debugging like motors and worrying about safety interlocks that we would have had to do if we had to build this from scratch. We were collecting real data, and we were seeing the canopy leaves in our camera feeds, and we just saw the robot navigate between the vineyard rows by its own. And so like within just a few weeks, like we went from theory to something that we can actually show a grower and say, look, this is like what the future of scouting could actually look like. And so through that, that was like a moment of validation that both gave us the confidence to take it further and say, okay, maybe this isn't just a little project. Maybe this could be a company. And that's also how we got a lot of the early feedback to see what kinds of additional value propositions and features we could add on. So Amigo wasn't just like this test bed for us. It was this kind of bridge that took our research ideas from our grad programs off of the whiteboard and bring it into the field.
Yeah, that's great. It reminds me a little bit in a different way, Guy's story here. Although instead of pursuing his own business, he ended up joining us here at Bonsai overall. So Guy, I'm going to hand it to you. And how would you say that challenge and working with the Amiga ultimately set you up, for a career in robotics and in ag?
Yeah, sure thing. So, funny story, I do not have a computer science background. I do not have a mechanical engineering background. I have an ag engineering background. I went to school to become an agriculture engineer, grew up in a family of farmers. So, farming was everything I knew. So, during grad school, I did take classes in robotics and algorithms and things like that, which were very interesting. Um, and I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but in my experience, most of my classes and especially projects were developing robotic simulations, which are great, but they're only gonna get you so far. So when I heard about the challenge and I saw that there was the possibility of getting my hands on an actual robot, break it, make it drive, make it do wheelies, whatever it was. Like it was just such a game changer for me because I went from someone with a good theoretical background to someone with actual experience. And for me, in that moment in my life, trying to transition from being a student to getting my first job in the industry, it was just such a game changer, right? I felt more confident. I learned a lot because, again, not a computer science student, and just participating in the challenge allowed me to explore new things and talk to other people, learn about best practices in writing software and things like that. And it was really the one thing that I was able to put on my resume and really catch recruiters' attention. So basically, without the challenge, I wouldn't have a job right now. So,
Well, and what was exciting too about your involvement in the challenge and then subsequently FarmNG and Bonsai is that you hit the ground running. And I think, and then you've paid back, the value and, continuing to iterate on the robot and the software, the operating system to make it easier for this next generation of students and innovators to build, solutions for growers like Larry. So Larry, I'm going to hand this next question to you. Ultimately, all of our effort and our participation in the challenge is intended to impact and support, the challenges that you face. How would you describe, the opportunities in ag for farm robotics, and how should students kind of be thinking about those opportunities?
Great questions, Brendan. Let me start with the last half of that. The advantage you guys have as students is your youth. And your youth, you're getting older every day, and that's a good thing. That means you're getting more experience. But the advantage that you have as students is that you come to this problem solving with a clean, unprejudiced approach. You're not tainted by mistakes or things that didn't work in the past. And you can bring all this new technology and address it to challenges that are really limiting to growers like ourselves to make the farming work and make the farming work economically. So that's the student part. The other half of this is as our world continues to change, as growers are faced with more and more challenges driven by unpredictable climates, unpredictable economic environments, unpredictable trading changes, unpredictable insect and disease pressures, unpredictable labor availabilities, having new tools to understand and tackle those problems is the way this thing's going to go forward. So your exposure to real world problems with an unprejudiced approach to problems of really deep complexity, I believe brings to our world a possibility of new solutions based on a quickly evolving technology that isn't that doesn't carry into the baggage of the past failures of what didn't work, but really looks at the possibilities of how we can use these new technologies to solve some of these problems that growers are having to produce food that we all like to eat.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. And someone that has been a big driver for the kind of the early innovation that we had at Bonsai. We've seen that impact together. And we've seen how you've now been able to pursue techniques that were probably impractical if we didn't have kind of robotic solutions. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Farmers today, whether they're in the United States, whether they're in California or Georgia or Canada or New Mexico, or Japan or in Europe, probably even in Peru, labor is one of our biggest problems when you're talking about specialty crops that require today a lot of hand labor. And the reason for that is picking a tomato from your garden is fun. Harvesting tomatoes all day long, it's drudgery, and you're only going to do it because you need to do it to make a living. So as we all become better educated, as hopefully we all become wealthier, there's less and less people who want to work on farms to grow food when the job is hard and challenging and drudgery and doesn't pay well. So as a farmer, my primary challenge for growing specialty crops is labor. And it doesn't matter where I am. I have the same problem for the small growers in Mexico. Their primary challenge is labor. We can't find enough people to get the job done. It's hard work. It's no fun. It's a struggle to pay people a living wage at what the supermarkets will pay us for our crops. You guys potentially can create the tools to make this whole system work a lot better.
Yep. It has the work here has a meaningful impact, a meaningful outcome. I mean, we're really improving the way that we feed our planet. So beyond just the learning that you get in this, you actually are working on something that is contributing to a very fundamental, human need, how we eat. Jonathan, I'm going to hand it to you. As part of the challenge, we require to interact with growers to really understand their problems. Growers like Larry, how would you say those interactions helped inform what you ultimately decided to build, and then ultimately led you to founding a company?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, once the competition is over, it's like I realize this is just a start. You don't pack a robot away, you take it outside and you continue to show it to people who actually use it. You got to be ready to rebuild it 10 times over with the feedback that you get. I found it really that you learn faster from a 5-minute conversation in the field than just from a month of trying to debug an issue that might not even be that useful from the lab. And so with the vineyard owners and the vineyard management companies that we're working with, some of the feedback that we've gotten are some like very elegant solutions to things that are problems for them that we had never even thought about. We had been trying to over-engineer perhaps a super refined geotagging mechanism when, spray painting the vine as you drive by the robot, it can suffice perfectly well. And so these kinds of like little lessons that you get, nuggets of wisdom from the farmers who've been doing this like for years, is very valuable. And so, yeah, I guess that's kind of what I would have to say to that. Yeah.
Yep. That's great. So I guess I'm going to ask this question for from all of you in different ways, and feel free to interject with one another. And so if you were to participate in the challenge again from the scratch, knowing what you know now, with the respective roles that you have, where do you think you would focus on? And so, Luan, maybe I'll start here with you. Kind of your perspective from an educator. If you were to advise students on how they really can engage in the challenge in a way that really supports them in both their experiential and career developments, but also is impactful to the ecosystem that we're solving problems for, where would you guide them towards?
That's the same as you just mentioned a couple seconds ago, Brandon. Boots on the ground. There's nothing more important than listening to a grower, what he has to say. So that's where you can actually make a difference. So if I would give any advice, you're like planning on joining the challenge, don't forget actually that's going to be your first step. Like talk to a grower, talk to an industry partner, look for a specific niche, I would say a specific pain of the grower where he needs most help, and then try to develop something that's going to make a difference on their daily lives.
Mm-hmm. And so, so Guy, maybe I'll go to you. What is knowing what you know here at Bonsai, all the problems that we face, and also probably knowing all of the opportunities that exist to create really value-added solutions for growers. What would you guide students today?
Yeah, sure thing. So I guess the obvious answer is go talk to growers and make sure you understand the problem. Luckily for us, for my team, when we participated in the challenge, the very first thing we did was find a grower and actually define the problem. So I kind of feel like we had very clear guidance in that regard. So instead of that, if I was participating in the challenge again, what I would have done is be more patient. And the reason I say that is because once we defined the problem, we were so eager into start coding that I feel like we rushed through a bunch of knowledge that could have been acquired if we took the time to understand what was already available for us, to understand if there were examples provided by the code maintainers at the time that have already tried to do stuff we were doing. And you would be surprised. A lot of times you're trying to solve a problem that someone have already struggled with that. And just transitioning into a more professional setting, first with FarmG and now Bonsai, I still see or face the same issue a number of times. I'm assigned a task and like I have this urge in me of starting to code. I'm a nerd. That's what I like doing. But just taking the time to understand what's already available will take you long ways to write better software. So that would be my recommendation for anyone participating in the challenge for the first time, or even people who's already participated in the season and is continuing to participate in the challenge.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. It's great. It's great advice, Guy. Jonathan, yourself now as a recent graduate from the challenge, and again starting a new exciting business here. If you were to do it over again, like how would you have engaged in a different way, and what would you provide? What advice would you provide to students today?
Yeah. So I have an answer that, like from a superficial level, sounds like it's at contrast with what Guy is saying, but I think it's actually kind of synergistic, which is the fact that I would probably spend a little less time obsessing over technical perfection and more time validating the problem very early on. So back then we were like focused on making sure every line of code was, clean, that it was optimized. And this is coming from my background as a software engineer and an ML engineer at Google and Amazon. And, this is kind of ingrained into you. But what I've learned as a founder is that, progress really comes from iteration and not polish. It's fast iteration. So I'd probably prototype faster. I would test more. definitely understand what kind of technologies and tricks and exist out there, as Guy mentioned, but also get that feedback from the real users sooner, even if it means kind of showing something maybe um, yeah, half baked, that kind of gives you the idea of what it's supposed to do. And so one thing I would also maybe kind of keep the same is maybe the willingness to experiment, to maybe fail, even sometimes a little publicly, to push the robots into places that if you shouldn't really go and to see what happens. And I think it's that like willingness to kind of take risks and really learn and move quickly is what made that whole experience for me really exciting. And it's what kind of drives our company today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Larry, I'm going to conclude here with you, and then we'll bring it to the audience questions here. But and I'm going to put you on the spot. So if you were to advise students here on what they should focus on, what are the biggest problems in your mind that you face, where would you direct them? Where would you encourage them? And how would you encourage them to pursue those opportunities?
I would, so what you heard from the previous participants was talk to the farmers. And I'll just saying that I'll reiterate that, but where you might focus is asking them where are they spending their most time and money on labor? What's taking the biggest chunk of their resources in terms of time and labor? And then look at the opportunities in that area to automate that. In our case, it's in the harvest. Half of our time is spent harvesting different crops, and it's the biggest bottleneck we have is finding enough people to do the harvest, and then the cost of doing that harvest. So the team that brings a tomato harvester example to the table, that's going to be a big raw and have a big demand in the agricultural world. An example, an analogy is the processing tomatoes. Processing tomatoes are grown on the ground, not staked, and they were previously hand-picked. And you'd see young men and women in the field running up and down these roads with buckets, and as fast as they can, carrying them back to a bin and unloading them. Today, when you go out into a tomato field for processing, the technology has completely changed. It's all harvested with machinery, and had to do with the ability to detect, to be able to see color on tomatoes and be able to sort them, kick them while the machine was harvesting them. But the technology came along to be able to build a tomato harvester. That changed that industry completely. And harvesting's fun when it's in your garden. When you have to do it all day long, it's drudgery. And there's a lot better jobs out there. So it's not like we're taking away great paying jobs. We're solving a problem for growing food that we all enjoy and need to have for our own nourishments. And part of this will keep the cost of our food reasonable, especially fresh fruits and vegetables, which are high in nutrition, important for our health, so that people at lower incomes in our society can afford to buy them. And I think that's a really important piece of that. So just to reiterate, find out where the biggest time and labor is being spent. Doesn't matter the crop or what part of the world you're in, and then look for an opportunity where technology can automate that.
Yeah. Thank you, Larry. So with that, thank you for the participants here in answering my questions. I want to kind of give it up, give some time here to audience questions and answer anything that's really come up here in the chat. So maybe Linda, if you're here and have access to the video microphone, maybe you can represent the chat here and kind of ask questions on behalf of the audience.
I have not received any questions, so I would love to see any questions come up in the chat. But do you have any others, Brendan, that you might want, maybe reminders?
Yeah. Well, so, I guess, as everyone here has kind of participated, in the challenge with the Amiga robot itself. I guess, a question for, maybe, a few folks here is, in terms of integrating solutions with the Amiga, how has the Amiga itself really helped kind of iterate quickly with growers? And, if you were to advise, students to participate in the challenge, what, like what opportunities, what does the Amiga provide, that ultimately could put, those students in a position to succeed. So maybe, Jonathan, I'll start with you on that, given your, building a business on top of the Amiga today, and are about to acquire your second and third Amiga from us. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see the unit that we have back here as well. Yeah, the modularity, I think, is one of the best aspects of the Amiga. It's whatever you want to do, whatever crop that you're trying to build it for, generally you are able to modify its form factor to adapt to the kind of focus that you're actually applying it for. Yeah, so it's the modularity is very helpful for putting sensors on, putting any kind of actuators on it as well. I think that modularity is what allows you to move a lot quicker. I'm constantly, I think throughout this webinar, I've been just talking about speed and kind of moving quickly. And frankly, as an early stage startup, that's kind of one of the main advantages that we have. And so leaning into that, leaning into the advantage that Amiga also offers here, I think has been very powerful.
cool. Thank you, Jonathan. Larry, maybe I'll hand that to you. I mean, you've in a way adapted Amigas to a variety of problems that you face. What have you valued out of that product? And how do you think that can help students in their project here with the Farm Robotic Challenge?
It might be interesting for the students to hear that after we got our first Amiga, our team and myself, we looked at it and started, how can we use this thing? We began hacking on it and developing our own uses. So the uses that we developed and where we found it useful in terms of saving labor was really developing. I was thinking of it like a shovel or a tool for our existing team to make their time and their efforts more efficient, was a small spreader for putting compost on top of a bed. That was one of the early applications. Another one was finding a way just to carry the product in and out of the field. So it was just a platform that followed our team into the field and out, carrying harvest boxes, empty and full harvest boxes after the crop was harvested. Another application was the putting of a fertilizer down into the root system. Our team built a small bin with chutes and shoes that went into the ground, and then the robot would go down the row and drop this. We were using a pelleted mustard meal as a fertilizer and as a way to decrease our disease load in a basil crop. And there were 3 or 4 things. But what was interesting is a lot of farms and a lot of growers are very innovative themselves. And once we had a small unit to play with, we began doing what you guys are going to do. We began playing with it and coming up with solutions and ways we could save some time. And that goes back to talking to the growers in your area and finding out they're going to have ideas, and they may have some really great ideas. And it's filtering those through, finding guess finding what's the low hanging fruit, because at some point you got to think about what's practical, how much time you have, how much resources you have to invest in this. So you want to pick the idea that seems the most practical as well as going to have the biggest impact for the effort.
Yep.
Does that make sense, Brendan?
It does indeed, Larry. It does indeed.
I do have a couple of questions.
Yep.
The first is, how much is the Amiga?
Yeah, so the Amiga is with the intelligence and the compute capability is 20,000. So it's 13,000 for the Amiga itself, $7,000 for the compute platform. The in order to, if you're considering doing a project based on the Amiga and your university doesn't currently have an Amiga, please reach out to Bonsai. We can help navigate that procurement process with you and make sure that you're set up for success for this year's challenge.
And I did re-put and repost, and I know this presentation will go out to everyone, but Arav's email address, so you can reach out to him directly about all of that.
Yep.
Oh, and the other one, it looks like Kelly, you already answered the question, which is how detailed should the proposal be, and can we modify it as you progress?
So Kelly, do you want to maybe just verbalize that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I posted a link in the chat. We had a webinar a couple weeks ago that went over all the details of what we're looking for in the project proposal. So that is also posted on that same link in the chat. So hopefully, yeah, this is really easy for you guys to follow. There's a form there that really just leads you through the whole process. In total, we're not looking for a really long, lengthy document. This is really just check in to go over some of the basics. What's the problem? Have you defined that well? Who are the ag partners you're working with? What's your proposed solution? And then how are you going to evaluate yourselves? And in total, this should not be more than 2 pages of text. So keep it simple, but really it's a milestone to help you continue to push your project forward so you can get to the fun stage of getting out in the field and testing and iterating and doing all those things that you heard our guests talk about today.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Well, it looks like we're at time here. I just want to express my thanks to everyone who's participated here. Larry, Guy, Jonathan, Luan, we really appreciate your involvement here. And just I'd say just appreciate your support with Bonsai and the Farm Robotics Challenge overall. It's great to have you as part of the ecosystem, and we're excited about what the innovation opportunities are going to come out here next. So thank you everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys.
Have a good day.